Mine might be a little out of sync by like a second though, because it like there's a weird little pop-up. So,
I think we'll live.
uh,
Welcome to the Mobile Roar podcast for the week of August 22nd, 2014. I am Joe Fudua.
hey guys, I am Christopher Chavez.
And I'm Kevin Kraus.
Yeah, you're not too laggy, Chris. It's okay. I think we'll live. And I really love the picture you have on your lower third right now this week. Somehow it's fitting for
It's
you.
so appropriate right now because a lot of cool stuff coming up, man.
No, it is. It's like I think someone on one site I saw it was like pro tip: do not buy any piece of technology until after September
Ah, yeah,
because like September is going to be insane. And I
insanely
think we'll talk
awesome.
about that a little bit this week. So yeah, welcome to the Mobile Podcast. Let's
Hey
get
everybody.
started with an event that Kevin was at. Surprise, surprise, Kevin was at another event.
You know, I get around. So this week, I was at a Sprint event where they showed off the new Sharp Aquos Crystal, which they announced actually before the event. They also went over some other network type announcements, their new pricing, how they got rid of Framley, which is kind of sad because I loved hanging out with the
Whoa, I
Framley.
totally missed that news. There's no more Framley?
Yeah, the Framley is gone.
Oh
Wait, I
man.
I know they introduced a new like that new family plan, but I didn't know they did is like family. Oh man,
The
is
fr-
family
I mean, in terms of advertising, those Framley characters might still be around, but like in commercials and stuff. But apparently, what they went over was the fact that when Dan Hesse stepped down or was fired or whatever happened,
that was his idea.
when Dan Hesse was removed as the CEO and the Marcelo Corre became the new CEO, one of his first initiatives was to sort of make pricing more straightforward. And he thought that the Framley idea, while cute and everything, wasn't exactly the most customer friendly thing. People were kind of like, okay, we get Framley, but what is it? So they came out, they basically just did a new plan where I think it's something like you get 4 lines of service and 20 gigabytes of data for like $160 or something. And they're doing some other promotion where you can get like $100 something or other. So Framley apparently is on the way out. Some other plans are coming in, but that was kind of just some side news in terms of where they're going with their service. But yeah, again, the star of the show is the Sharp Aquos Crystal, which you probably have seen. If you haven't, we have a hands-on and some other coverage up on Fandroid. But it's the edge-to-edge smartphone that not only looks pretty cool, but it comes in at a remarkably low price. Like off contract, it's I think 250 or 260 when you get a postpaid um, account, or you can do $19 subsidized. I think it's like $10 a month if you do it on the Sprint payment plan. And I think they even said that there's going to be a prepaid version for some of their prepaid brands that's going to
Yeah.
cost only like $150 to buy outright. So um, it's going to be a really cheap phone to get. At the same time, even though it looks really cool and it looks like it's a super high-end classy phone, it does contain slightly lower tier specs, something more like a last generation phone. You got a quad-core Snapdragon processor in there that's clocked at 1.2 gigahertz. You've got a 720p display that again is edge to edge. 1.5 gigabytes of RAM, 8 megapixel camera. So kind of lower tier, mid tier type specs. So the
Yeah.
price actually fits a little bit more when you consider it that way. But their whole goal was Sharp is a company that has made some attempts to come out in the U.S. with phones. It hasn't really worked out well. Sharp does really well all around the globe, and when it comes to big screen TVs and uh, things like that. But their smartphone business has never been really big here. But what most people don't know is that they're actually the number one Android OEM in Japan. So since Sprint is now owned by SoftBank, which is a Japanese company, they wanted to do a Japanese plus U.S. rollout of a single device across their networks, and that's the Aquos Crystal. So I got to spend some time with it. Like, I thought it was pretty cool. It's kind of when you actually go below the surface and start navigating around the phone, it's a pretty generic um, Android experience. There's not a whole lot in terms of software that sets it apart. It does get some Sprint features that many people would probably just describe as bloatware, but you get, cool Harman Kardon audio software in there. Sprint is supplying different subscription type services that will add value to the handset. They're actually going to launch a subscription application service that will let you download for paid apps and games as part of your subscription plan, but also if you download freemium apps, they'll give you the app, and with your subscription, you'll get like $5 of in-app credit. So that's like some of the software stuff they're doing to kind of entice users. But when it comes to the software actual experience, it's kind of just a standard Android handset. And same goes for processor speed and things like that.
What version of Android is it?
It's running
4.3. I could have sworn it was 4.3. And someone was upset about it because it wasn't KitKat or something. But
it didn't look like they had too much of a skin on it, though.
Yeah, it is very stock, and it's not. This is where I got confused because the device I was playing with, I'm pretty sure still had Jelly Bean on it, but they in all of their specs officially announced they say it's going to have KitKat. But am I wrong? I mean, if you look at the screens, which are fairly stock Android, it looks to me like it's still got Jelly Bean, but it's supposed to ship with KitKat. So I don't know if that was just.
Yeah, that could have just been early or something.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, it's cool looking. Like everyone said, it looks like it's from the future or something.
Yeah.
It's all super crazy because there's no bezel on the top. I mean, still a little bit weird because there's no bezels on the side either. It's just like almost pure screen.
Yeah, so that's what everyone's going to talk about, though, is the bezel-less thing, which really is the big draw of this phone. Some things to note about it is that it is pretty much bezel-less when you look at the top and the sides, but it's not 100%. The edge of the display, which is actually made of transparent or translucent plastic instead of glass, so it's kind of a new display technology. It's a little bit more durable, but it's not totally resistant to cracks.
Does it feel like glass? Or can you tell it's plastic?
I mean, I wouldn't really have been able to tell a difference until someone told me, and so maybe it's kind of just placebo. After they told me that, I was like, yeah, you could kind of feel that it's a little bit more plastic. But there are some like odd things about it. Not really odd, but kind of one of the sort of effects of it being edge to edge is the display edges are actually rounded. So most smartphones, the display doesn't even hit the edge, so you don't even have this issue. But the display edges have a kind of a rounded bezel to them that I don't know. I mean, it's a cool design touch, and I'm sure it serves to add some functionality, if you're holding the phone, so that your fingertips on the sides of the phone don't interfere as much. The other thing with the display, the way it's oriented, you have this big, I guess there's no other way to say it, but like chin kind of, the bottom of the phone, and
the bezel.
Yeah, well, the bottom bezel, the only bezel they have, which is a pretty big bezel considering there's no other bezels, but the way they situate the front-facing camera is now below the screen, so this is kind of different. So when you hit, to take your selfie, the shot is just like the bottom of your face, and you have to kind of tilt the phone up or hold it up to get it,
Lots of nostril shots.
Oh yeah, huh? It would always look very unflattering, like when you first open it.
It's the front-facing camera would take some getting used to. I guess you might be able to just flip the phone upside down and do a selfie that way, and it'd be more natural.
So what about the ear speaker for when you get a phone call?
Oh yeah, the earpiece, it's actually built into the display. It said, I was watching the whole promo video on it and stuff, and it was like it wasn't really mentioned too much, like in the a lot of sites and stuff that posted about it. But the entire display is supposedly the speaker. So they say you can position it however you want. You can slide it up your ear. You can put, as long as your ear is touching the display, it's gonna shake and vibrate. It uses that whole
Oh right. I did see something about that now. Bone can, what do they call that? Bone conductive or something?
Yeah, which is like in the Google Glass, right? They have like a bone conductive.
Yeah, which sounds cool. I mean, it always sounds really cool. Like, oh, it's like sending, I don't know, sound waves through your bones or something. But really, it's just vibrating. It's just vibrating the same way a speaker would, but it's just like, and it kind of it tickles, and it's like, oh gosh, when someone hits a certain note, it's just.
They didn't make too big of a deal out of that at the presentation either, and so I'm not sure how much they'll be selling that as a feature, but it's really cool.
I mean, how often do people even get phone calls nowadays? I'm sure the audio quality isn't great for bone conductive, whatever, but I mean, I'd rather have that than I'd rather have a no bezel than stick
Yeah.
that speaker up there for the few times they get a phone call.
I mean, it's just the unique design of it. I think it's gonna like when you're walking by all these cookie cutter smartphones, and then you see this phone, and you're like, wait, what the hell is that? I'm like, why is there no earpiece? Where the heck is it from? Like, you're gonna stop and you're gonna think about, why does this phone look so crazy? Oh, let me check it out, and then you start, whatever. But I think it's going to do really well for them. I mean, I didn't think it was going to come out in the U.S. ever, because I think the press release for like the Sharp Aquos was like, a couple months ago. It was like sometime last year, like last November, I want to say, that they announced it for Japan, and it was just like, oh, it's another Sharp phone that we'll never see here, but looks awesome. And
Yeah,
so surprised.
Which is generally like the story of like we'll go to CES or MWC and
Yeah.
we'll go to the Sharp booth and we'll have a lot of really cool looking kind of just typical like Japanese design smartphones, and they have a lot of innovative features, and then you're like, oh, like this phone will never come out in the US.
Is that me and Edgar, when we were at CES, we went to the Sharp Aquos booth, which is huge. Like, Sharp has this huge, with all their TVs and all their computers and all this stuff. And we were looking around for that phone, and we couldn't find it. So like we asked, a couple of the PR people that were like in charge of the booth. They're like, "Hey, you guys got that Aquos phone?" And they're just like, "No, we don't. We don't make phones." And we're like, "Yeah, you guys do. It's right here." We had to show them, and then they brought some other guy who's like in a business suit, and he's all like, "Hey, what's going? What can I help you with, guys?" And it's like, "We want to see your phone. Do you guys have it? Is there like a little Japanese man in the back that maybe has one?" And they're just like, "Oh yeah, we don't make phones." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me." But
Is the Sharp the Aquos Crystal, is that waterproof?
I
'Cause I know a lot of the Japanese phones are waterproof.
I'm pretty sure that's like almost like a standard thing now with Japanese phones. I'm not sure if this one was. I didn't see anything about it being waterproof, but the higher end model, I would imagine, probably would be.
I mean, I think that's where the Aquos name originally came from, because the original Aquos phones were resistant to water. So
see, like, that's
I know.
Big bowls of water, and they'd be like, "Hey, put our phones in the bowls of water."
Dunk it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I that's another thing that was probably the presentation they gave on the phone was super brief, and to be honest, the guy giving the presentation wasn't that great. He was working off note cards and just kept he kept like talking, and then he would have to go back 3 note cards and be like, "Oh, I forgot to mention this thing about the phone." And it's like, "Oh, dude, like, okay." So I didn't really pick up anything. The displays that were very small only had a couple phones each, and there was no like spec sheet on the display. The people at the stands weren't super helpful. I was like, "Hey, what do you like about this phone?" And they'd be like, "Oh, it's got this edge-to-edge display."
Typical Sprint then.
What are you, stupid?
But actually, like, another thing that I don't know if anybody has mentioned this or picked up on, and it's kind of a very small nitpicky thing, but it's just something I noticed about the display of the phone, is that when it's completely powered off, and if you look at it at the right angle, there's a very obvious and persistent kind of dot matrix pattern on the black screen that I've never seen on any other smartphone. So I don't know if that's something to do with the conductive technology or the transparent plastic technology or the bezel.
The LCD, the LCD that they use. I've seen it before on some other phones, and some phones it's more obvious than others, but sometimes it looks crazy because you can see like this little, I guess it's like a honeycomb, almost like a honeycomb pattern, but I can't remember what phone off the top of my head, but there's somewhere it just shows up. You can just see it like plain as day. But yeah, whatever LCD panel they use.
So if you're like a very like hyper anal retentive type of person,
if you're Chris Chavez,
you might be like,
I would not get upset about that. I don't like the way this display looks when it's off. This is really off.
Man, I can totally see you saying that. Totally.
You say that now, but then you order it, and you're like, "Oh, Chris, how do you like that phone?" You're like, "Oh, I already sold it on Craigslist because I couldn't stand dots on the screen."
That is not even that far-fetched of a scenario.
That's weird. You guys are ridiculous.
All right. So let's move on. We talked about this a little bit last week, but earlier this week it became official. The HTC One M8 for Windows, that is the official name, is now available at Verizon, and it's soon coming to AT&T as well. This is the exact same phone as the Android version. Exactly the same. Absolutely no differences except for the OS. Kind of crazy now that it's here. And I know, Chris, you've been asking on Twitter interesting question is the battery life comparison.
Yeah,
And
that's, I mean, what
I
I'm
have
most
seen a
curious
few
about.
reports already. They're saying that it gets about 10% better battery life than the Android version.
That doesn't sound too much, and
Yeah,
I mean
10%.
that could be a standby time. I mean, of course, battery life. There's all kinds of different things
Yeah,
you
I
could
think
get.
10% is like a margin of error. Like that could be like
Yeah,
you could go 10% either way, and I
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
really
not
say
a
that.
big, it's not a
That's
huge
not like a
difference.
just. You wouldn't be able to definitively say that it gets better battery life if it gets
and
10% more.
I would love to see it in actual use. And the stuff that I have seen, there was like a Slash Gears thing where they kind of since nobody's really had it that long, and people just kind of took a look at like these like not review units, but whatever they played around with the display models and stuff. But they looked at the reported time left, so they would look at it and see, oh, this one says it has 21 hours of battery life left, and
Uh,
the Windows one says it has 22 and a half hours of battery life left. So it's like I wouldn't go by that at all because I've never
yeah,
really gotten that kind of battery life when I just seen it reported on the phone.
I mean, I
Ever.
used Windows Phone for a long time, and the battery life on the phones I had was not like extremely amazing or anything like that. I think the bigger difference is probably just performance
Yeah,
overall. Windows
that's
Phone
how it is.
devices are really smooth.
Yeah.
So smooth. I'm actually kind of curious to look online on XDA and see if I can flash a ROM to my current one just to kind of play around with it for a little while. I like Windows Phone. I loved it. Loved it
Yeah,
when I
that
had
is
it.
an interesting thing because I mean, like I said, it's literally the exact same phone. So I wonder how easy it would be to flash, Android on the Windows version and vice versa.
Yeah.
The thing I hate about it is the name HTC One M8 for Windows. That
For
is
Windows?
just, it's a bad name, man.
Yeah, I don't really like that very much. Uh,
Windows is just not a brand name that people like
Yeah,
anymore.
like right now it's kind of it's kind of bad. They've been drugged through the mud, I guess. It's
No one at
it's almost
Microsoft
like
seems to understand that.
a bad thing. You're like, oh, you can have the HTC One M8, or you can have the HTC One 8 with Windows.
Yeah,
You're like, what do you
but
want?
but I mean at
like
the same time, Android doesn't have the best name either. So people are like, "Oh, Android doesn't that have all those viruses?" And then they're like, "Oh wait, Windows that's got viruses too." And they're just
yeah, I don't
whatever.
know. I still
So
think
try an iPhone.
I think it depends on the demographic. Like if you ask maybe someone my parents' age, Windows or Android, they might prefer Windows. But if you ask someone our age or younger, Windows is like really lame and you don't want that.
No, man, that's lame.
Well, the other thing that I mean, so this Sharp event actually was right after they did this 1M8 with Windows event, and I was talking to some people at the Sharp event, and some of the buzz that I was hearing about the 1M8 with Windows were things kind of like about the software aspect, because I guess HTC still wanted to have some of their software influence, so they still included the Blink feed, but it's like a standalone app, whereas in
Right.
Android it's kind of more integrated into Sense, so it's like a lot of interesting HTC choices even on the software side.
And in
Yeah.
that case, I mean, you can completely uninstall the Blink Feed app from Windows Phone if you don't like it, which is a benefit over Android.
Oh, fancy. That's interesting.
But yeah, like you said, they the dot view case, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in wins and fails. That works still. So
What?
it like everything is the same except just the OS. It's really crazy. Even like the camera features with the dual camera and things like that, all of that works. They made a custom camera
Hey,
app for Windows Phone.
no.
It's pretty neat. I think it opens up a cool possibility for just saying in the future maybe, hey, I like the hardware of this device. I like this operating system. Can I make those two meet?
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think Windows Phone has a long way to go before people are saying like, "Man, I want the HTC One M8, but I really wish I could get it with
Yeah.
Windows."
I mean, it'll
Oh,
be
it
interesting to
does.
see the price. What was the pricing on it? Is it still the same exact price as the Android version, or is it priced cheaper somehow or something? I don't know.
It's $99 on contract. The Windows one is.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I think
okay.
I think at most carriers the Android one is starting to be sold at that price too.
Yep,
So
I
Yeah.
think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just basically what operating system are you going to want? That's going to be the question.
Do you want apps or do you want no apps?
That's what the reps are going to say. I mean,
Yep.
honestly, that's exactly what the reps are going to say.
The same deal with Android and iOS back in the day. It was just like, do you want apps or do you want no apps?
So talking about pricing, the Moto 360 price has been something we've talked about quite a bit. And this week, there's more fuel to the fire on that. Best Buy accidentally listed it a little early, and they had it priced at $250.
I don't believe it, man.
Which, if you remember, $250 was the price that Motorola had some contest. It was like I don't even remember exactly what that was all about. It was like the worth or something if of the prize if you won it, the value of the prize. I don't know.
It was
That
in
was
the
also $250. So of course now everyone's thinking, hey, the Moto 360 is going to be $250.
It's gonna look awesome. It's gonna be affordable. I'm gonna buy 2 of them, one for each wrist. I don't think it's gonna be $250. I still don't.
So why do you think? What do you think it was priced at that on Best Buy for? Then what do you think happened there?
I think it's a placeholder, and maybe they just kind of got the pricing from something else. I don't. Maybe like the LG G Watch, or the G Watch is like 240 or something, or 220. But I don't know. I don't know what the problem was, or maybe they got it from just that rumor stuff. And I mean, it's just a placeholder, and it's not really.
I don't know. This thing is close enough to where it's going to be launching within a couple weeks, and
Yeah.
It can't be 250.
I mean, how often is Best Buy wrong when they post up prices?
Dude, shut up your dog, man.
It's not even my dog. I'm gonna throw him in the bathroom. You're going in the toilet.
You're going in the toilet. I hope there's no one from like PETA watching this or listening to this later on. They're gonna.
He's about to get the toilet bowl challenge.
Yeah, Chris's dog is taking the toilet bowl challenge. But no, I mean, I'm still kind of hesitant to believe 250 also. But, I feel like this rumor has a little bit more clout to it than the one that happened before.
Yeah, I think I'm not thinking 250 would be unreasonable. I think it could be.
It's
realistic
too
price
reasonable.
tag.
That's the problem. It's too reasonable.
I know, but they always have kind of hinted that it would be more expensive, and this still is more expensive than the other Android Wear watches, so it's not like that unreasonable, is it?
by like $20 though, I still don't see it. I still don't. It's Motorola. I mean, just look at what they priced the Moto X, which was just all plastic and just had nothing going
I mean,
for
there
it.
could be a chance. I mean, there could be the possibility that 250 for a base model, and they might actually try to like do more of a watch type sales model where they charge more for a better band. Like,
actually-
Yeah, like
really
maybe
good-
250
really good
is
The
maybe
rubber
250.
band.
Yeah, exactly. 250 could get you like just the basic silver case and then the like a plastic band. I could see that maybe.
and then you could spend 350 for like a leather band or like a.
Yeah. I mean, if I get one, that's what I'm going for is the silver aluminum case and the brown leather band. That's what I'm going for.
That's classy. I'm going all black. Murder it out.
Murder. The whole time I've been thinking $299. So
That's
$299
exactly what I was thinking. And $299, you wouldn't even hesitate. Still, you would. Anyone that saw it would be like, "Oh yeah, I'll buy that for $299." It totally looks like it's worth $299.
so
That's the thing. It's like I'm sure they've done what is it? Those focus tests or
market
whatever.
research.
Market research, and people are like, "Oh yeah, I'd buy that for $299." Hell yeah, I would.
Yeah.
$250.
So
No way.
September 4th is when we'll finally be able to put all this talk to rest. Should be an exciting day. Something I wanted to talk about since we are on a podcast, I thought this would be relevant. I did a fan faves for best podcast app, and that's where we basically just put it out to our readers to tell us what their favorite app is in a certain category. And this week, I did it last week, and then this week I tallied all the results. And I thought I'd just share those quick since we're on a podcast.
All right.
And if you're listening to this, maybe you're looking for some new apps to try to listen to us.
Cool.
The winner was Pocket Casts, which is a paid app. So I feel like if that many people voted for this and were willing to pay for it, it's probably pretty dang good because most of the other apps on here are free. Number 2 is Beyond Pod. Number 3, which is the app that I use, is Dog Catcher. Number 4 is Podcast Addict, and number 5 was Stitcher Radio, which you can also find us on. But I thought I'd just share that in case you're looking for some new apps to use to listen to us and the other podcasts that you listen to.
Cool.
So next up, more Sprint news. They have a $60 unlimited plan now, I guess, to compete with T-Mobile.
They're coming in hot. They're coming in hot with that new CEO. He's changing things up.
Yeah, and they're doing the ETF buyout thing too. So.
Oh gosh. Yeah, they're going hard. They're going full T-Mobile.
That's good. I mean, that's basically John Ledger's whole plan with all of this was
You know what they
shake
say.
things up.
If you can't buy them, join them.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome though. I mean, it sucks. People are joking around about it's unlimited. Sprint data is only about 2 gigabytes anyway, but
I mean, we've made those jokes for over a year now, so
just trickling in. And I'm actually kind of curious too, because I have some friends that are on Sprint. And I'm always trying to convince them to get off of it, and he sounded like he was pretty okay. Like he was cool with staying on Sprint. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting a new phone. I'm going to renew my contract soon. What phone should I get?" And I was like, "First of all, you need to get off of Sprint." And he's just like, "Oh, why? Is T-Mobile good? Or is oh my gosh, anything's better than Sprint?" But I mean, it made me think like maybe Sprint isn't as bad as we're making it out. Maybe they've done some pretty cool stuff to their network in the past 6 months or so. I don't know, but I don't know if these $60 unlimited plans will help. I'm sure it will. It'll bring in some people looking for an affordable plan, but I feel like once they get in that, they're going to be stuck and they're just going to like hate their life. Like, why am I paying $60 for this? Get suckered in.
Next up, iOS gets Photosphere. That's pretty dang cool. Is that in the Google Plus app, or how do they have that?
It's a separate application.
Okay.
It's called Photosphere Camera, so it's almost like a camera app of sorts. But
I'll have to check that out. That's cool.
Yeah.
Joe, I
It's
saw you posted a pretty cool Photosphere on Google Plus the other day.
Yeah, I did one from on top of a dune at Lake Michigan. That was pretty cool. That's the first time I really used one, and I was really impressed with it actually. It pretty much stitched all the images together seamlessly.
Yeah, it looked very seamless, and it was just like, it'd be great.
I feel like it does outdoor stuff a lot better than. I mean, I guess you're not really supposed to use it for indoor, but like just straight lines and things like that, buildings, it's kind of like it can.
Well,
get a
yeah,
little
you have to have a big area. I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like if you do it in your bedroom or something, it's too confined and all the angles don't match up and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, then it messed up. So I mean, I did it in my apartment on accident, not an accident, and then I accidentally posted my address on Twitter. That was kind of interesting. But I mean, this is kind of different from, say, like the Google camera, or the way it works in Google Plus and stuff. Which you take a photosphere, you share it on Google Plus, and it's like all tied into that stuff. With the iPhone app, it's tied into Google Maps. So the whole reason, and you can see it, like the wheels turning in Google's head, is they just want people to take pictures of more photospheres out and about, and then upload those to Google Maps where they get vetted and stuff, and then
so that's
Street View.
Yeah, like Street View.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So that's what you did when you posted yours on Twitter. You were using the iOS app.
Yeah, I wasn't using anything else.
Because
So,
that was the thing. I noticed yours posted to like Maps View website or something, and I had never seen that before, and I was like, what the heck did he do?
So someone at Google was taking a look at my photo and like, I don't know if we want to publish this on Google Maps. Just like, probably wasn't the smartest. I wasn't really sure how it worked, so I was just kind of playing around with it and seeing. But it's interesting because it's another great Android feature that has gone to iOS or iPhone.
Oh dear. All
That's
right, so
unacceptable.
just a couple more quick things here, and then we'll get to our wins and fails. There's a rumor about a new music service from Google called YouTube Music Key, and it's going to be like $10 per month. I'm not really sure what the integration with Google Play Music is going to be, the All Access.
It's kind of like it's going to be like a bonus incentive to get Google Play All Access. So if you buy Google Play All Access, you get Music Key for free. If you buy Music Key, you get Google Play All Access for free. So they're going to be very like tied in.
Why wouldn't they just make it the same thing?
It kind of is the same thing, but it's just going to have two different apps to kind of, whether you want to watch music videos. I guess it would make sense for them just to make Google Play All Access have like a music videos tab or something, but there's all other benefits for the YouTube app because you can get rid of ads, so you don't have to see those darn 20-second ads playing and stuff, and then you get offline viewing. Offline viewing, you get when you sleep your phone, the music or whatever you're listening to will keep going, which is kind of neat. Just stuff like that. So it's more of like a bonus for all access people. If you're already paying for all access, then you're good. You're going to have the YouTube Music Key, which is kind of cool.
So, and then last up, Verizon is said to be making their own app store for Android, and other carriers might be on board with this as well.
It was from, so the information, or the source was The Information, which is that paid site. They charge like $50 a month for the hottest scoops in tech. And there's been a couple of them, and it's people that used to work for Wall Street Journal, it's people that used to work for TechCrunch and all this stuff, and they came together and made this site. But they've been wrong on other leaks before, and this one apparently Verizon came out and just flat out said like about that app store, not going to happen. Been there, done that, and then that was it. And it was kind of
that's ballsy of The Information to charge a subscription fee, get things wrong often. Like people are paying for that, man. Come on.
I would be so pissed. And I mean, I'm sure they know who their sources are, and these people are like positive about that stuff. But that sucks. It does suck for them. If it's wrong, I mean, Verizon might just be trying to cover the tracks and just, I'm not doing that again, and then come out with some crazy app store later. Who knows?
All right, so wins and fails of the week. Kevin, kick us off.
All right, so my win of the week, this isn't so much for me a win, but just something that I thought was cool and interesting nonetheless, so I'll call it a win, was Uber Cornerstone, which is a new service that is being beta tested in Washington, D.C., and it's basically now, among other things, your Uber driver can deliver you toiletries and little goods, not just drive you around. So I guess you're in your Uber app and you click over to the Cornerstone option. A driver pulls up outside your house. You go tell him what you want to buy. He goes and picks it up for you, brings it back, and it all gets charged to your Uber account. So super convenient if you're lazy. Kind of an interesting move for Uber, though, because it's kind of starting to get outside of the world of transportation. I mean, why couldn't they just, instead of calling an Uber driver to take you to the store to get something and come home, you just send the driver to get it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But so far, it seems to just mostly be kind of household goods and toiletries. I guess this type of thing you could pick up at like a Rite Aid or a convenience store like that, but not like full-on groceries. You can't be ordering, fresh produce and cereal and milk and all these things from them. So I thought that was a cool little thing they're testing out, but it's only in Washington, D.C. right now as far as I know, which isn't too far from me, but I still probably can't use it. So that is Uber Cornerstone. We'll see if that rolls out to a larger audience soon. For my fail of the week, this was initially reported that Brazil had already banned Secret and was going to order Apple and Google to remotely delete the app from mobile devices. Turns out it isn't actually banned yet, but there is a movement among at least one attorney in Brazil that they're seeking to have a judge ban Secret and remotely delete the app from devices.
Why?
Well, the reasoning behind it is, they're calling the cyberbullying and just anonymous attacks on random people. And I mean, Secret can get kind of nasty at times. People have been known to post nudes of people, and they can say whatever they want to say about people. So at least some authoritative figures in Brazil are not cool with this, and they're seeking to have this app banned from the country.
Because they don't want to get exposed. They don't want people to expose their mistresses. Is probably why. It's funny.
But so I mean, I'm all for cutting down on using the internet as a form and tool for harassing other citizens, but I think this kind of starts to step on some toes when you're banning apps outright and then even retroactively using your powers to go back into the device and remove the app without the user knowing. So that's a fail for me. That's not cool.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
For sure.
Okay, so my win of the week, I mentioned earlier I was going to talk more about the dot view case on the HTC One M8 with Windows. And the really cool thing that they've done is they have a special Cortana interface that works on the dot view case. So it has like a bigger Cortana icon, and you swipe down on the front of the device on the dot view case, and Cortana will open up, and then she has this like cool new icon that shows through the case, and then you can just speak a command like you normally would, and she'll respond with like the weather or whatever. And if she doesn't have something that she can verbally tell you the answer to, as soon as you open up the case, it will be right there, opened up to the responses for you. So it's really pretty cool, and I'm really impressed with HTC the way that they have basically just used an Android device and put a new OS on it, but they haven't done it in a lazy way. They've actually built in a lot of their features to work with Windows Phone like that. So pretty cool, I think.
Pretty darn awesome, actually.
Yeah, because DotView, I've always been a fan of the DotView case. I think it's awesome. So it's really cool that you can use that with Windows Phone now. My my fail of the week, Swingcopter.
Come on, man.
This is the sequel to the app that shall not be named by the man who has a phallus name.
Sequel.
That was a good rhyme I just did.
Yeah. You rhymed name with name, so I don't know how much it counts.
Come on, Kevin. Come on.
More like a Lil Wayne rap right there.
But yeah, okay. It's just another app made by the guy that did Flappy Bird, and I have to say this game is probably 50 times harder than Flappy Bird, and I don't even know how that's possible, but
dude, it is so hard. I was trying so long, and I couldn't even get one. I'm on 0 still. Like I can't.
My high score is 1, and I've played it probably a couple hours in total. It's
I haven't
insane.
installed it yet, but I'm gonna have to check it out. It looks like basically just Flappy Bird flipped vertically, though.
That's what I originally thought.
But it's got more movement because it's got.
Yeah, it's like the way the thing moves is just really erratic, and and the thing is, like, I don't know, Flappy Bird was super hard, but it was still kind of fun. Of course, really frustrating, but a little bit fun. Swingcopter is almost so hard that I don't really have any fun playing it at all. It's just pure frustration.
I think this is actually like some kind of cyber attack by Vietnam against like the U.S. or something.
Yeah.
Like
Speaking of cyberbullying, Dong is cyberbullying everyone.
You got cyber dong slapped.
Yes.
What was your tweet the other day, Chris? You said something about how it seems like all of his apps are just like some phallus themed because his name's Dong. There's like Flappy Bird. Swingcopter.
Flappy Dong. Swing Dong.
He's trolling everyone, and we just don't even realize it.
He probably is, and I bet you he's not even like in Vietnam. That's probably like a whole crazy backstory made up by some kid like sitting in his parents' basement in Vermont or something.
I don't know. I think their Vietnam app developers are just like they want to torture everyone because. That freaking math game I mentioned, I think maybe last week,
no,
that's also made by a guy from Vietnam. It's like, what's going on over there?
That must be, it must be like some cultural.
No, I know they're having like a boom of like gaming software and stuff. There's like a lot of those freemium like PC online RPG games are like coming out of there too. So I guess they're taking this whole gaming thing very, very seriously in Vietnam, but still.
Hey, I think this whole gaming thing might be catching on.
Yeah, we should make some games.
Chris, what do you got for us? Anything?
Wins and fails. My win is going to be the researchers out of Michigan State University, MSU. they have developed, or they've come up with, an almost completely transparent solar panel, which is awesome. Previously, there was like transparent solar panels, or I mean, you guys all know the solar panels that you see on houses and like
Yeah.
whatever that have, they're like very opaque. They're just kind of like that brown whatever. They capture a lot of light and transfer it into electricity. There was a transparent one that they came up with not too long ago, but those were tinted, so they were like very, very darkly tinted green or orange or something, and just not really too practical as far as transparency goes. But this one is like crazy clear, and it basically absorbs ultraviolet light. Actually uses these organic microbe things inside of it to capture ultraviolet light, transfer that ultraviolet light to the sides of the solar panel, and then convert that into energy. Which is pretty awesome because, of course, the implications are that you can put it on a smartphone display, you can put it in your house windows, you can put it on your car windows. I mean, it's just totally awesome. The only downside, of course, is that it only is 1% efficient. It only captures 1% of the light that passes through it right now, which is pretty bad. But the researchers say that
They can get it to 2%.
they're working, that they have plans, and they know they can get it to 5% soon, which is still pretty bad.
Typical Michigan State fail.
But this is just the start. This is the start. The technology's going to keep growing. They're going to find out new ways of improving it, and yada yada. But even at 5% or something like that, anything that you could put on a phone to keep it from dying as quickly, I'd be all for it. If you can just somehow slow down that Android battery drain.
Yeah, even if it couldn't
awesome.
do like 100% charge quickly, like as long as it could keep you between actual plugging into a wall socket,
right.
Get a
just
little bit of power.
Maintain.
Slow it down a bit. Slow down that battery drain. So it's pretty darn awesome. And then it's supposed to be extremely affordable too. So there shouldn't be any problems with these manufacturers getting it in wholesale and all that. But
it was so weird when I saw you posted that, because like I live 20 minutes from MSU, and there's like a picture in that post of them holding up the display outside of a building, and I was like, why does that building look so familiar? Because like all the buildings on MSU have a really distinct look to them, and I was like, oh, it's Michigan State. What the heck?
Yeah. That's funny. I know. You can see your house in the picture somewhere. But yep, so that's going to be my win. My fail for the week is probably going to be, I would say, Vine. There was an update to Vine where they are finally allowing users to upload videos that they already have on their camera roll. So if you've taken video any point in the past, you can now upload those and kind of edit them and put them into a new Vine for the sharing, which is a fail in my book, simply because this was like the one thing Vine was sticking to their guns on when they first introduced the service, was to kind of keep people from posting music videos or copyrighted content and whatnot, and it kind of helped flourish this whole creative community that's in Vine right now. Like whether you hate Vine, you think it's annoying, or I mean, there's people that are actually doing some pretty funny things on it, or music artists that are using it as a tool to promote themselves. It's pretty cool, but now I feel like it's probably this is either going to help Vine a ton, or it's just going to completely be the downfall of the service, or the final nail in the coffin.
It killed the magic.
I think it's actually going to kill the magic, because if you can just record a bunch of videos ahead of time, you can do some pretty crazy stuff. You could add special effects in After Effects. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff, and then put that on your phone, and then upload that to Vine. I mean, you killed the magic that was Vine. The magic that was Vine, which was like, how the heck did they do it? How did that guy do that?
See, I disagree, because I think, first of all, there's always going to be people that still like the idea of creating those Vine magic type videos. And then second of all, while officially uploading videos hasn't been in the app, there have been workarounds forever, and people have been uploading workaround videos that are still really cool, because you still are limited to just the 6 seconds. You still have to be pretty creative with the effects that you use. So even if you do some pro editing on your computer and uploaded it to your phone, if it's cool, it's cool. If it makes a good Vine video, it's a good Vine video. I don't know if it's the death of Vine. I don't think Vine ever really caught on as much as it could have caught on in the first place.
No.
But now that you can upload these videos, I know they used to do those Vine movie trailers where like real movie studios would like record the trailer off of a screen just to have it on the Vine. So I'm sure you'll see a lot more advertising opportunities with the real Vine video uploads. You'll see more stuff like that.
Less crappy quality people recording stuff from YouTube on their computer, on their phone. Yeah.
Chris, you did like a flourish of vines after this update, I noticed.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I did one Vine, but
I thought you did like 3.
I think I've uploaded it 3 times because I kept failing, and then I was like, oh, I finally got it this time. But
so that was something that you were testing the feature. You recorded it and then you chopped it up and edited it.
Yeah, well, it's a whole new camera app too, so I was kind of playing around with to see how it worked, and I was like, all right, let me try this and see how it works, and it did pretty well. It was all right. Not sure if I'll be using it more. I've always kind of liked Vine. The whole idea of a 6-second little tiny video, just a little like burst of information really quickly. I think it's really cool. Even like 15 seconds on Instagram, I feel like it's too long. I get all antsy and like, all right, wrap it up. But I mean, that's just the state of the internet today, I feel like.
Yeah. All right, so let's finish off with our app picks of the week.
All right, you will have the choice of Star Wars Commander, which is an iOS exclusive app. Currently, it just came out today. I had a chance to play with it for like 15 minutes before we popped on here. But this actually saw a soft rollout in Australia and some other regions not too long ago, but now it's available in the US and on a wider basis. It's free to play, of course, with freemium purchases. And yeah, it basically just follows Star Wars. It's got a lot of the classic Star Wars characters: Han Solo, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, Darth Vader.
Jar Jar Binks?
I have not encountered Jar Jar Binks yet. But it's kind of a combination tower defense / real-time strategy game. You build up a base with defensive turrets and troop generating stations, and of course all of this stuff, it takes time to complete, or you can speed it up if you want to pay premium prices to speed up your stuff. And so you build up your forces. You choose to be on the side of the Empire or the Rebels, and then you head out into the world and complete missions, destroy other bases to accomplish whatever, get more money, more alloy, more stuff to build an even bigger army and bigger base and bigger troops and droids and everything. So it's actually pretty cool. Little game if you're into real-time strategy games or tower defense games. I'm still kind of just feeling out through the tutorial mode of it, so I don't really know how it's going to go as you play once you get more deep into the game. At first, it kind of seems a little basic, but it's definitely a cool game worth checking out if you're a Star Wars fan. It's another great Star Wars mobile app. I know LucasArts, now that Disney is like really putting a lot of force behind, no pun intended, the Star Wars franchise. We've been getting a lot of pretty good Star Wars mobile games recently, so this is another pretty solid offering. If you don't like freemium games, it might be a little irritating, but if you don't mind, or if you can stand to wait to have your droid finish being built just a couple more minutes instead of paying money, it's worth checking out. But so far, it's pretty fun.
You just got to take those freemium games like I do. I take that as a challenge. Like, I dare you to beat this game without spending any money.
Challenge accepted.
All right. My app pick of the week is an Android app called Silent Hours, and something that really annoys me, and it just depends on how you use your phone at night. But I just have mine on a bedside table, and the notification light on the Nexus 5 is kind of bright for me. I'm someone that needs almost complete darkness to be able to sleep, and I couldn't find a decent app to get the notification light to not turn on at night until I found this app. So it's really basic. You just set a time span, and then you can have like all your notifications silenced, so they won't make any noise, they won't vibrate, and you can have your LED notification light disabled during that time too. I've found this to be extremely handy for me.
What is this app called again?
Silent Hours.
Silent Hours. Yeah, that functionality, is built into a lot of Android phones too. But there's a lot that you don't have it, and it actually is frustrating. I have what have I been using? The one, what's it called? Dang it,
Light Flow?
No, it's not for the notification. It's just for the when you turn the volume down, and you can set it for just like a specific amount of time. It's called. I don't shush exclamation mark.
Okay.
And that one, but you have to like remember like before you go to bed, like
Right.
and then set it, and then set the amount of time you want it, which is helpful too. But sometimes it interferes with other apps and stuff. But I'm gonna try out that one, silent
Yeah,
out.
it wasn't so much for me the notifications because I usually have my phone on vibrate and the vibrate never really woke me up. But I used it was an app kind of like Light Flow, where it controls the LED colors and stuff like that, and it had a feature like that was supposedly supposed to do that, but it just never worked for me for some reason. So, yep, silent hours, give it a shot.
Is a developer Victor Ackerskog?
Is the icon like a bunch of Z's?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, I'm gonna install it. You didn't +1 it, and you didn't even leave a review, so I'm very disappointed.
You know what? Not you, Chris.
I'll never
I will +1 it right now for you, though. There you go. All right, what's your app pick, Chris?
My app pick is going to be it's called LAS, the Last App Switcher, and it was kind of a
ALS Ice Bucket Challenge? What?
LAS Last App Switcher, and it was kind of like a little more controversial on Fandroid. Pretty much everywhere that I've seen it posted, because people are just like, this is pointless and stupid. There's no reason to have this, but that couldn't be farther from the truth. So I'm going to totally explain what the app does. So what it does is, if you have a phone with software buttons, and you know how you normally swipe up to access Google Now, you can change that shortcut to be Last App Switcher, which basically acts as the last channel button, like on your TV or something. So every time you swipe up, it'll just automatically open the last app that you were just in, and it does it so quickly that it becomes just second nature. So if you're on YouTube, you get a message, and you jump into your Hangouts, and you're messaging someone like, okay, I'm going to go back to YouTube, you don't have to click the multitasking button, open up the multitasking thing, click on whatever you were just in. I mean, it sounds stupid because it just really eliminates 2 clicks, but it's 2 needless clicks that just don't need to be done, and it's just so much, you just feel so much quicker, and you're not really taken out of, you're not seeing all these different screen transitions that mess with your head and whatever.
That sounds great though. That sounds like it would.
Yeah.
It's almost like kind of true multitasking more than even jumping into like a whole list of your other open apps, because like you can really easily jump back, copy text from one app, jump back into an email, paste it, jump back to the. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I always like that about Windows 8 because Windows 8 does the same thing. If you just constantly hit the Windows key, it will just like keep going back and forth between your 2 most recent apps.
Oh, so I guess someone maybe they jacked it from that.
So my question is, because I actually use that Google shortcut all the time, that swipe up. Is there a way to get more than one like button in that swipe up menu?
I wish only through root stuff. A bunch of root ROMs and stuff, they have it where you can add to it. But I know in LG phones they have like the same thing, but it has like 3 options, so you can launch other stuff. But unfortunately, you can't, which would have been awesome. I was thinking the same thing. Like, I wish Android would allow you to customize that so you can just swipe up to a specific direction. That would just be completely epic. But the app is, I think it's like free, super easy, super free, and super amazing. It's changed the way I've used my Android device so far. And if you don't have software keys, there's a little floating button that you can kind of just keep, and you can throw it around your screen and just always have it there, so when you tap it, you just automatically go back to your previous app. But I don't like having all that weird little stuff floating around on my screen, but yeah, it's an option.
All right, sounds good. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. We did have one email question that I'm going to ask right now. We have a few minutes left. I think this one is going to be something that Chris can answer for us. So this is from Tim. He says, Nexus phone, and this is off something that you said last week, Chris. He says, Nexus phones are not named by screen size. Both the Galaxy Nexus and Nexus 4 had 4.7-inch screens. Only one was the 4th Nexus. The 4.7 number rounds to 5, not 4. Only tablets are named by screen size, not phones. I believe he is wrong. Is he not?
Yeah. Completely and totally wrong. Yeah. At first there wasn't. There was the Nexus One, which had nothing to do with the screen size, and there was a Nexus S, Galaxy Nexus, and they didn't start going by these they didn't start numbering them until the Nexus 4, which had a 4-inch screen, and they said, hey, if we make a 7-inch tablet, let's call it Nexus 7, and we have a 10-inch tablet, let's call it Nexus 10. So that kind of like set the benchmark, or the pattern going forward. And then even then, it's not like we saw a Nexus 8, which was the sequel to the Nexus 7, because there was a Nexus 7 2013 edition. So all they did was just change the year on it, similar to the way Apple does with like their MacBooks and iPads and all that stuff. So most definitely wrong, and I think we'll see it kind of cement this fact further once the Nexus 5 2014 comes out, or the Nexus 6, or whatever it's going to be. It's definitely going to have a number attached to the screen size. That's kind of what Google is doing now. So totally wrong.
All right. So if you want to get just demolished on air like Tim just did by Chris. No, if you want to leave us comments, ask questions, and things like that, you can use our email address, podcast@mobileroar.com. You can subscribe to the audio version of the podcast, which comes out every Friday on Stitcher Radio and iTunes. Please leave us a review if you subscribe to us there. You can follow us on Twitter. Chris is at GamerCore, Kevin is at You Don't Know Kev, and I am at Tall Schmo. And we will see you guys next week.
See you.